What's up guys, and welcome back for another Fallout 76 video. In this one we're going to be talking about generalized workshop gameplay and how you can kind of just make everything easier with blueprints and what workshopping kind of looks like during the end game. Now in most cases you're not going to just run a single workshop, you're going to run multiple. I'll usually run 3 to 6, just depending, and not all of them are really worth running, but I'm just kind of walk you through kind of my process for one of my favorites, which is the Charleston landfill, which is right here. So we're gonna go ahead and jump down here and get this cleared out, and then kind of show you the process I take in setting it up. So first, obviously, you need to get everything cleared out. So we're just gonna come run through here and get all these mongrels down. Sometimes you gotta hunt and peck for these guys a little bit. I usually don't try to loot them. Use like nearby loot to like grab everything all at once, and just kind of follow the indicator there. Where's this last guy at? He's underneath probably. Sometimes the mobs like to no, we got them all. Okay. Another thing I'll mention here too is like this is more for like if you're trying to like steal a workshop from somebody, but you don't have to actually be at the workshop terminal there to claim it. We could be like hidden somewhere over here, and you can just hold down B, and then you can get the prompt here. Now normally I won't start setting up the extractors or anything like that until after we get the first event, and that first event happens very shortly after you actually grab the workshop. But one thing we can do is once this is captured, I'm gonna start kind of clearing house a little bit. We'll get rid of some of this stuff in this area. It makes turrets a little bit, the more you can clear out, the easier turrets have for line of sight. So we just hold down V there and swap. We're just gonna remove whatever we can in the vicinity here. Can't really move a whole lot here, but really this whole area right here we're gonna use for our blueprint. Kind of move all this stuff out, and then what I'm gonna do is marsupial is a mutation, and it allows me to jump really high, and then also with the jetpack for Secret Service armor, it allows you to get on top of stuff like this, which is really great. We can also just kind of hit V again and just fly around this whole thing and kind of get a good scope. So for Charleston landfill we're going to be using this junk node here, and then there's another one over here next to water. And then we're going to be hooking up this water as well, just to get a little bit of purified water. And then the other one's over here. Charleston's going to be a little weird because this is kind of a blind spot over here. So we're going to be kind of focusing more on this area. You're going to have mob spawn over there. And then you're also having mob spawn up here on this hill. And then they also can spawn down here and run up. This sometimes gets stuck and everything. So the first thing we are going to set up is my blueprint. And I have a blueprint set up for workshopping, which we actually need to go in here and set contractor to make things cheaper. We take adrenaline off, and also I need home defense 3. So now we have those perks all set up. We can go with my tower here, and I'll kind of talk a little bit more about this once we kind of get past this. I don't usually get the other nodes here, but setting this tower somewhere here is pretty decent. Now this tower has 10 turrets. It's got 6 on the bottom and then 4 on the top, and this is the only thing that we actually built on this whole workshop. So this first wave should actually come pretty much straight up on us. Now the reason why you want to run workshops is not necessarily for the actual nodes that they provide themselves, but it's to actually extend the items you already have that generate resources. So in this case we have honey. If you watch the other video I did, a lot of these resource generators I have in my camp, so by putting them in the workshop we get even more yield from that stuff. So weapons workbench for scrapping and stuff like that, water boiler for boiled water, got the beehive for honey, and then I'm using a Nuka-Cola Quantum Collectron right now. And then we have the bed here. I'll talk about the bed situation in a second. And then turbo fertilizer, just to kind of get a few of those. And then if we go up here, we got wood, we got acid, and then we have the weenie wagon for dog food, cookie jar for the sweets, and then we can store in our boxes here, and then regular stashes down there as well. And out here we got chicken coop for fertilizer, and then budding apothecary for fauna, or like flowers and stuff like that. So pretty simple. I dropped this same blueprint pretty much on every workshop that I set up, and it eventually just gets to the point where I'm just fast traveling and cycling through everything, and grabbing it all. The important thing to note here too is this welcome mat is actually a fast travel point. So whenever I fast travel to here, I will pop up like this, so I can immediately grab the collectron and then swing over, grab this, and then hit the water boiler, grab that, go up the stairs, and then get wood, acid, you see what I'm saying, and then dump it all here, and then obviously go out and get the other situations out here as well. Alright, so now we have a event popping off, so let's see which direction these guys come from. The reason I don't set up the entire thing before the first event is because if you don't have like a blueprint like this, by the time you actually get these extractors down, they might get destroyed before you even get turrets down, and that's just kind of waste mats and everything. So we're going to go and kind of run around here and see if we can't figure out where the mole rats are the worst, because they can just kind of tunnel and they're unpredictable, and they also tend to get stuck a lot as well. I have a feeling they're probably, I think I just saw one. Yep, they're fighting this bathtub. If you have time, and you see the tower's already taken care of some of them, if you have time, go through your workshop and anything that you can remove it, because that will be a target for these guys to destroy or attack, instead of funneling them into your turret tower or whatever. And also just you can clean it up a little bit better as well. Go and remove that. I'm just kind of waiting for these guys to get a little bit closer, because I don't really necessarily like running around and chasing mole rats for the most part. Another strategy you can do is you can actually ignore the defend event and just wait for the retake event to happen, and that will put them all kind of in a central area, and it's much easier to clear. Alright, that's wave 2, or wave 1. See if we see any movement down there or up on the hill. I have a feeling it's not going to matter. They're probably going to just tunnel up. Looks like they might be on the backside here. Yeah, see, they just come out of nowhere. Mole rats can be extremely obnoxious. Luckily, there's not too many of them, so we don't have to worry too much about it. Once this wave is done, we'll finish setting up the 3 junk extractors, and we'll talk a little bit more about just overall long-term farming for workshops. I haven't done workshops in a long time. Until like yesterday, I ended up like grabbing like 6 or so workshops, and I held them for, I want to say, like 10 hours or so. And that's usually what you want to do, is you want to hold them for a good amount of time to kind of make it worth it. Like, see, these mole rats are just kind of hanging out here, not really helping you out too much. Alright, this one is done. I usually don't blueprint the nodes here, because the terrain can be kind of can change up a little bit, but I do kind of do everything the same in terms of generators, and you're probably not going to have a lot of the generating options that I have, but I'm just going to kind of show you what I do. I use this windmill generator mainly because it can kind of go kind of anywhere, unrestricted. I say that, and it and it wants to say it's floating. And then we'll go over here to resources and go to junk. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to speed this up a little bit by hitting V again, and so we can fly around. And then we're going to go ahead and place all these. And then also do the same thing for the generators. Just put them like somewhere in the vicinity, and then we'll tie them up. So that one's running, and then do the same thing here. I'm going to go and put it right here to get rid of this item there. Go and tie that up. Probably going to have to give this thing its own generator, because I don't think it has enough power. This takes 10, and this takes 10. This thing only produces 12. The purified water is useful. Like I said in the other video, purified water is great for getting your 1400 caps if you can generate enough of them in a daily time span. Alright, so that's running, and then we just gotta hook up this one. Now, since we already have 10 turrets here on the tower, then we just need to do like 3 or so around each of the nodes here. Now, I will put one on top. Now, keep in mind, if they destroy the extractor, the turret, even though it's undamaged, will disappear. But this gives us a little bit better line of sight over this hill. Now, since we know that they're going to be coming from this area over here, I usually like try to put a turret right up here on this hill here. They can also kind of come down this way as well too, so we'll throw one right there, and that puts us at 13. And then I'm going to put this one right here on this one facing out. They can come down through here or up through here, so we can either put one, this would be like a choke point for the most part, and if they fight this one, then we can kind of put this one back over here. But we're going to spread these out a little bit and try to put this one here, because this other junk node over here is kind of off by itself. So they're either going to come from this direction. Very rarely they come up the hill here. They could just hit you from any direction. It really doesn't matter. So we're not going to be too picky. We'll probably put 4 on this area just to kind of cover our bases and everything. Maybe something like that. So that's all set up like that. And at that point, for me, Charleston landfill set up and everything. Now this workshop has aluminum, steel, and copper. I usually don't go with that kind of stuff, because while it's nice, usually I try to just focus more on what the workshop's primary purpose is. And if I wanted steel, I'd go do like the steel workshop. So like Charleston landfill is mainly for junk. The other one I'll usually grab is the Hemlock Holes maintenance, which is for acid. As you can see, it has 3 acid nodes there. And then another one I'll grab, I don't really need to make ammo anymore since I have the generator, but I do have friends that don't have the generator, so I'll take converted munitions factory. I'll usually grab the lead, the oil there, and then set up the ammo for that. The other one I'll grab too is Sunshine Meadows, sometimes just to make like sweets, like cakes and stuff for challenges. It also has junk on there as well, which is just added value. The other one is really nice to have is Beckley Mine Exhibit. If you need oil, set up those 3 on oil there. And those are usually the best ones. I used to do a lot of Grafton Steel Yard, but you can just do West Tech XP grinding and just scrap a bunch of weapons from super mutants, and you get a crazy amount of steel that way. As far as lead goes, you can go do like Lucky Hole mining and stuff like that for lead and things like that. But let's go and talk about long term, kind of holding these long term. You're going to get defend events. If the more workshops you're running, the more stretched thin you're going to be. So that's why having these fast travel points right here in the kind of the center is really good, because it allows you to kind of get right here where you need to be and defend. Otherwise, you're going to be running to the thing, or you're going to be showing up randomly around the perimeter and stuff. So once it's all set up, I kind of just let it chill. I'll go do dailies or do whatever. I like junk because it's kind of multi-purpose, and also you can get quite a bit stockpiled in the extractor as opposed to other resources and things like that. But and this kind of goes across the entire game, but not just for workshopping, but also if you're just like wanting to farm the resource generators in your camp. The bed, when you're actually in a bed, it actually extends your idle log off timer. I want to say it's up to like 5 minutes. If you're just outside of a bed, I think it's like 2 minutes or something. I don't really remember the exact numbers. So usually if I'm not running a daily, if I'm just like letting extractors and resource generators kind of do their thing, or if I ever AFK from the computer, I'm jumping in a bed like this and just chilling, because it's going to allow me to stay online idle longer. Or if you're doing something else on the computer, then I can come in here and just hit M, open up the map, and it kind of resets that timer as well. Now, whenever you have like multiple workshops running and you're just fast traveling from one to the other, the rotation for me I'm coming in right here. I'll grab the collectron, and I'll just grab every resource that I can up this tower, and then just like that. And then if I have any ammo, I'll dump it there. If I have scrap, I'll dump it there. Sometimes I'll grab these, but I usually don't grab the flowers in case I need them. But it's very easy to just like grab this fert and then throw it in there. And then from there, I'll just kind of jump off like this, whereas having the jetpack and marsupial is nice. And I'll grab the water, and then I'll go and clear out this extractor, and then I'll just head over to the next one. This is where having the jump pack and marsupial is easy, because it just makes getting around so much easier. And then we'll immediately just go back over here and grab the third one. And then from there, I can come run back through here, and I'll check if everything needs to be repaired. I'll repair stuff if needed, and then I'll immediately just fast travel to the next workshop and do the same thing. And like I said, I'll usually do like 5 to 6 workshops at a time and just kind of do the same thing, like the identical tower setup on every single workshop, so that I'm generating a bunch of Nuka-Cola. And like whatever my focus is, I'll change this collectron. So like for instance, during the Christmas like winter event, this collectron becomes a Santatron to farm gifts and stuff like that. Or during Foshnot, this will become the Foshnot collectron to like farm that stuff. If I don't want Nuka-Cola, this can just be like a regular junkyard dog and just get more junk and electric scrap, just to scale everything very nicely. Other than that, everything kind of just stays the same for this setup. Now, lastly, just to close out the video, show you how to set up a blueprint and everything like that. So normally what you do is just, I'm using this tower prefab. I'd like to put everything on a prefab so that it's kind of all encompassed. So get your structure completely like how you want it and everything, and then you just select the structure. We can hold down E and go into blueprint mode, and then what I hit is Z just to select everything. And I just make sure everything is selected. You can hit C to grow selection if you want, but usually Z grabs everything. And then you just hit R to create the workshop and name it, and you're good to go. Now when you go into build mode, you'll just be able to go to blueprints here, and you can also verify here by going into like hit V, and where you can zoom really far out and fly out really far off, and just kind of look at the blueprint, make sure nothing's missing and everything's kind of there. You can also just delete blueprints too. So this is the blueprint I was messing around with on Wade Airport. R to delete, and you're good to go. So that is my my workshop process. Charleston landfill is one of the best. All this junk goes into repairing armor, goes into making ammo, goes into repairing weapons, goes into so much of the game. And once you get to the end game, or if you've been in the end game and you're dealing with a lot of like shortages on different scrap and stuff, you're fast to learn that junk generators are just absolutely pivotal, are influential more so than anything. But appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.